Hi there. How is everyone doing? Hopefully my sound is okay. I'm making some noise right now, crinkly noise. If you can hear crinkling, my sound is okay. I was having some sound issues yesterday. I'm grabbing a Kleenex. Something is irritating my eye today, so I probably should have kept my glasses on. But welcome if you are joining me live. Sorry, I'm going to dab my eye. If you know me, you know when aren't my eyes watering, right? I feel like my eyes are always watering. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're tuning in. Welcome. I'm going to light a little bit of sage. Um, we are having a snowy snow day. Good afternoon. Oh yeah, for us, I guess it is good afternoon. Happy New Moon and Snow Friday. JL, are you not working? Or are you working from home? You have a snow day too? My kids have a snow day. Well, they're e-learning, but um, hopefully you are. Hopefully you're at home. So in Chicagoland, we're having some snow. Depending on where you are, it can be a little bit hairy. So no work, snow day. Yay. I love that. Well, good. You can kind of play with us, and we're not building maybe snowmen, snow women, snow angels, but we are doing some good work today. So yay, I'm glad you could join us. Took Mother Nature to bring you back. No, just kidding. I know you watch later. Okay, this is just a little bit. So I added some herbs. So this is sage, but I added some herbs in too. I don't know, just changing things up for myself. I don't have my. So hopefully you guys are safe. Yes. Aww. We already missed you. We already missed you in group. So today I wanted to do kind of a new take, a new, I don't know, vision, new, fresh take, I don't know, for intention setting. So most of you are probably familiar with intention setting. Um, so with new moon, we just had the new moon in Capricorn on the 11th. What was that, yesterday? I think that was yesterday. And so that is like our new moons are always a time for new beginnings, fresh starts, or reset. Maybe looking at things a little bit more clearly or having a little bit more clarity. And so sometimes people, if they do new moon rituals, they set their intentions. And when I first started with intention setting, I was doing it pretty long term. When I was starting to do it with new moon and full moons, I was starting to do intentions that were sort of long term. And I think somewhere like a couple of years ago, I sort of shifted and was just doing it for the lunation, which was really nice. It took a little bit of pressure off of me, but also kept me really focused and sort of had some, for me, clarity on like, what do I need to be doing for myself presently, right? There was too much pressure to have it for like the rest of the year or whatever. So you can do it any way that works for you. There's no right or wrong necessarily. But trying to find what works for you sometimes is trial and error. We have to like piece it together, figure out what works for us. So I actually wrote a little bit. Of course I did, but I I wrote some thoughts down because this was actually going to be one of my blog topics. I have a blog sort of hidden on my website, but it's on my website. And then I put it in my newsletter too. If you ever want information that I'm presenting here, I usually send it to my newsletter people. And then also it goes up on my website most of the time. And so you can always go to my website, riversjourneywellness.com, and get that information. Probably if you're brand new and you don't know who I am, well, welcome. I am with some old friends, some wonderful women that I work with and enjoy their company, definitely. So But I am Mary from River Journey Wellness. I have been a holistic therapist for a bit of a time, 25 years. And then I'm also, oh, that means this is going on 26 years. Oh boy. And then I'm also a Reiki master. I started sort of integrating the work that I do for myself, my personal work, into the work that I do with clients. So sort of expanding my practice, my services to include coaching, and then I also have some programs and offer different things at a variety of times. So that's me in a nutshell. You can always get more information about me if you're wondering. But when I was first, and I have the book, I don't want to pull it off my bookshelf, but when I was first introduced to the concept of intention setting, it was actually Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, The Power of Intention. And it's almost coming on 20 years. That alone kind of blows me away that it's been 20 years. But prior to that, I really didn't know a lot about intention setting. I had never really heard of it. I wasn't familiar with it. And so it was new to me. But at that time, I was already a therapist. Sometimes I still felt a little green, a little inexperienced as I continued down my own path of personal insight and discovery. But this book sort of opened my eyes to not only looking at how I create my own reality, how I create some of my struggles and strife, but then also kind of gave me some hope that I actually had some power. I could exert my own personal power to create what I wanted for myself. I could turn that into reality, right? I guess I didn't think about it like that prior to reading this book. And luckily, I had somebody I was working with at the time that he really walked me through the steps. And we actually took, I think we took the beginning chapters as one whole session together. And then you can kind of pick and choose within this book, this power of intention, of like what you want to be setting your intention on. And so we kind of picked one that I was struggling with at the time. And we worked with that for a little bit. Yeah, a little bit until I saw things shift and change. So that was exciting. But, back then I had been in the field, like I said, for, I think it was, let's see, I got to do math. Maybe 7 or 8 years. And I knew all about limiting beliefs. I knew about self-defeating thoughts. I knew about the power of words. I know a lot of times we hear people say like, oh, they're just words. They don't mean anything. And they do. They really have a lot of weight, whether they're spoken, whether they're written, whether they're just our thought. It has a lot of power. So I knew that from my work with my clients. But and I should say not but, and this is where the green part comes in. And I thought I understood emotions, thoughts, and then resulting behaviors. It's something that I'm trained in. And so I thought, yeah, I get this. But then I would get tripped up in my own personal life, in my own personal stories or narratives, in my own limiting beliefs, my self defeating thoughts, or even power that I didn't realize I was kind of giving to words. So, sometimes I would have that awareness and I'd be like, oh man, I thought I knew stuff, but maybe not so much. Or, we joke about this all the time, is like, I thought that I knew how to work with clients, and then a new client would walk in with a story that I'd never heard, with experiences or symptoms that I'd never seen before. And I would have to figure out again, like, how do I work with this client with where they're at in their life? So, that would make me feel a little bit like, okay, there's still more for me to learn. And now I understand there's always something more to learn. There's always more to learn. So, when I was working with this book, when I was understanding a little bit more about the power of intention, one thing sort of was clear. One thing sort of stood out to me. When we're little, when we're kids, the words, whether they're expressed, verbally to us, or they're somebody else's beliefs that are conveyed, however they're expressed to us from adults, they're very important, right? That is what shapes the way that we start to think about the world, the way that we start to think about ourselves. But at some point, there's a shift. And I feel like it's around our preteen, teenage years. The important thing about words and how they're expressed, it shifts from what we're observing from other people to how we're experiencing it to what we're actually saying about ourselves to ourselves and to others. So we have this very observational piece when we're little. It's very important what those messages are, what we receive from the adults around us. And then it shifts because we sort of integrate that into our way of thinking, either about ourselves or the world. And then we start repeating those things to ourselves. So it's very important that we look at that piece. And so I wrote down, I'm terrible. I'm so bad with quotes or jokes. I'll forget the punchline. I won't remember the quote exactly. I just did a little reel that had a quote, and I'm like, I don't even know if I got it right. But anyways, so I wrote it down. So reading this book was a light bulb moment for me, and especially this quote was something that I had to mull over for a really long time. It's by Thomas Merton, and I'm going to read it verbatim. We are already one, and we imagine we are not. And what we have to recover is ours originally until, right? We feel like there's I guess I shouldn't add anything, but whatever we have to be is what we are. And this sort of struck me as, I didn't look at life that way. I didn't look at growth that way. I didn't look at experiences that way. I did feel like there was some separateness, and I didn't feel that connection, not only to myself, but to others. And of course, there were people in my life that I felt very connected to, but I didn't feel connected on the whole. And I definitely didn't always feel connected to myself, especially during teenage years and young adult years. But we feel like there's something that we have to like discover outside of us, that thing that we continually seek, and it's really within us, and it was always within us. So that really got me thinking about intention. So back when I was reading this book and working with it, I was, again, I have to do math, probably around 30-ish. And I could see, just like I was saying, I would get tripped up. I could see places that I was repeating unrealistic, sometimes untrue, mostly unhelpful narratives about who I was and what I was capable of, and even what I deserved. So I would recognize those times, and sometimes I would be really critical of myself. I would kind of beat myself up for having those beliefs, or feeling that something was true that really wasn't. And other times I probably did a little bit better, but I feel like some of the beliefs, like I was saying, from our childhood, would sort of come back, especially during times of stress, times that I felt uncertain. Usually it wasn't like, oh, hope abounds. Usually it was the other stuff. And sometimes there was some confusing things that I remember learning from church that just created a little bit of lingering self-doubt, like I said, judgment. And I noticed that the patterns that I was having in my life with unhealthy relationships, I could see a direct link between those untrue or unrealistic or unhelpful narratives, and how I was engaging in those relationships, how I was maintaining those relationships. And so I thought, okay, there's something going on here that I have to work on. And luckily we did it in a very gentle, compassionate way. But I think this is the work that I do with clients as well. I want to bring the awareness of where those either mindset, beliefs, those old stories, narratives, whatever they are, where they continue to trip you up in your life, right? And so it kind of struck me back then, and I think it's probably something that I still have awareness of now, that I was trying so hard. I was trying so hard at 30, which I know is crazy. But anyways, I was trying so hard at 30 to be something that I already was. I was fighting and suppressing my intuition to kind of stay in step with my peers. And back then, not all of them were very healthy, healthy peers. So while I was trying to stay with them or um, seek their support or whatever it was, yeah, I don't know. But I was also thinking that I had to do better. Like I had to be better myself. I had to build myself up from scratch. It felt like I had to create a life that maybe I saw others have, or I just understood that there was a different way, right? I was working at that time, I was working on what I thought was to make myself more whole. So there was some sense that I didn't have that. I wasn't that thing yet. I wasn't there yet. And so I didn't have what I needed to become my best self. And the reality was I already was, right? I already was that. And that thing inside me that I was seeking was not only already there, but it was me in my entirety. It was me wholly and completely. I was perfectly imperfect, right? I was the thing that I was already searching for and working so hard for was already there, but I couldn't even see it. And so I think a lot of people go through life where they feel like they have to work hard, they have to sacrifice to receive. They need to be in a different package, or they need to look different or feel different before they can feel like they're one, like before they can feel like they're whole. And the reality is, no, I don't know where that came from. I mean, for me, I sort of do trace it back to some of the religious stuff that I know that is part of my upbringing. Some of it is family stuff, right? Ancestral wounds. But I feel like there's so many people that experience this as well. It has to be something that's somewhat universal, which kind of is mind-boggling to me. So that intention setting. So let me go back to my notes. I know I did have this concept, and I think it's kind of like the hero's journey, right? Like I had to rise from the pain to become like my best self. You know, um, under the mud was the golden Buddha, right? I just needed to pull apart the gunk, the gunk in the mud, to reveal the light. But at some point, I just needed to allow my ego mind to step aside and let my spirit soar. Like that's all I had to do, right? It's so simple, but it's so hard in practice. And you probably have felt frustrated or stuck also at some point where you feel like you're pushing and you're trying and you're doing all the things, but you're not receiving the benefits, or you don't feel like, your needle has moved far enough. We have to start wondering, like, what is this needle, right? What is far enough? What is enough? Where do I want to go and why, right? What is that push or that pressure? And why can't I see what I already have, right? What already resides within me? And so I think it's kind of a gentle approach to come back to intention setting. For me, I felt like something clicked earlier this week, and I felt like I have this new appreciation or this new vision for intention setting. So this is kind of the backstory on that. So thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully that wasn't like, such a long story. But I think it's so important to kind of know like where I've come from, and knowing that like most of the struggles that we've had, other people have felt it too. But he says, I feel like the phoenix rose from the ashes to my true self. Exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on that process of like, I really have to like hit rock bottom, or I really have to just um, push so hard that I've released or whatever. And I'm thinking that it might not have to be that difficult, that much of a struggle. Yeah, JL says that totally resonates and says hello to you. So all these years later, I mean, I'm a little bit, yeah, self sabotage does happen. Yeah, it really does. And just like I was saying, I would trip myself up. right? Things would happen and I'd be like, oh crap, I did that thing again. So usually we do that thing, whatever those things are that like self sabotage, when we're struggling. So whatever our thing is that activates us or we're very reactive to, it's usually our source of pain, sometimes our shadow. That's when we do this wonderful strategy called self sabotage, where we, return a call to somebody that we know isn't good for us, or we make plans with a family member that we know is going to, just criticize us, or we say yes to something that we don't want to, or we say no to something that could be potentially good for us. We, figuratively, hopefully not literally, but figuratively kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. Yeah, so that definitely that definitely happens. So I was seeing kind of like a circling back, or I don't know what that is, like full circle, to the power of intention at the beginning of the week. And it wasn't just this book. It's up there. I just don't want to pull it off my shelf because I think everything's going to tilt, but the meaning of those words. And so with this new moon in Capricorn, I was starting to think about what was resonating for me, what I wanted to set my intentions on. And I was starting to see it with fresh eyes. And the funny thing is, I was listening to something, and I was listening to a podcast, and she was naming these different areas of life that we want, or that we could set our intentions for. And I was like, all of them, like I want it all, right? And it got me really panicked. It got me into that moment again. It was lack and scarcity of like, I can't have all of these things now, or there's too much that I need to be working on. And I got like a little bit panicked inside. And I was like, hold on. What do you truly want? What do you really want? Because all of those things that you want in all these different areas, they all kind of come back to one thing. What is that one thing? Is it peace? Is it freedom? Is it love? Is it acceptance? What is it? Is it joy? So looking at all these different areas, I was able to kind of condense it a little bit and say, oh yeah, this is the thing that I want. And then you start to think about, well, how do I take those steps so I can activate that within my life? So with this new moon in Capricorn, I didn't do a blog for that. I didn't do meditation for that either. Sorry. But it's our first new moon of 2024. So I feel like it feels even more like the new beginning. It feels even more like this fresh start. And sometimes when there's high expectations, or people are hyping stuff up, it feels like, oh, shoot, I really need to really need to get my butt in gear and do something for this. And so Capricorn, when balanced, is all about hard work, is pragmatic, is self-disciplined. But when imbalanced, overworks, is impractical, is unrealistic, is or idealistic, very rigid, unforgiving, and a little bit emotionally detached. So when we think about creating a balanced intention, when we think about creating intention setting for this new year, we really have to make sure that we're bringing in these other elements that's going to help balance out Capricorn, so we don't go too far to one side where it's like, I have to do this one thing, and if I don't do it exactly this way, I failed, right? Because that gets us in a lot of trouble. And so balancing it with some beauty and love and humor, anything that kind of opens you up, makes you feel a little bit more maybe compassionate or even passionate about life, bringing in a little empathy for ourselves is huge. So when I was having that moment of panic of like, I want all these things. And then I kind of looked at, okay, but they all kind of have a flavor of this one thing, right? I did able to balance that out where I was thinking like, okay, if I want this, I have to do X, Y, and Z. If I want that, I have to be really strict and rigid about this other thing, right? I could really feel myself getting tugged and pulled into that uncomfortable place, into kind of that imbalance or even shadow side of Capricorn. So just be gentle with yourself if you find yourself creating too strict or too rigid of intentions, or something that feels really, really just too overwhelming. I'm all about balances. That's fabulous. That is good because then you know, okay, what's going to make this work best for me, right? If it's too much of this, too much of that, it's not going to work for whatever reason, right? So we got to kind of bring up one side or the other. And that's a good way of checking in with yourself. That's actually it's really helpful if you're all about balance because you're going to be very mindful. So that's absolutely fabulous. So put that in your check mark for strategies that you already have, strengths that you have within you. So the other piece that kind of got me thinking is I was listening to a bunch of different things, podcasts and videos and all sorts of stuff, as you probably do as well. And I was listening to this woman, and she was talking about how this period of time, we're still sort of struggling with this, like moving into this age of Aquarius where old ways and old structures or old order, whatever, is beginning to break down. And I sort of had like an aha moment during that as she was really hammering it. And not that she's a really doom and gloom, but I just felt like there was so much emphasis on how like the old is not working. And so my mind sort of went off on in its own place. So I wrote down a couple questions for us. So what if we allowed any of the unhelpful ways, order or structure we hold for ourselves and then recreate over and over and over, especially during like self sabotage? What if we allowed those things to fall? Instead of thinking about the government or currency or whatever else they were talking about on this video, what if instead we brought that back to ourselves? What if we gave ourselves permission to release the old ways, order, structure for ourselves? What would that look like for us? What if we watch our thoughts, our beliefs, our narratives that are keeping us in our pain state? What if we allowed those to crumble away? That would be huge, right? And then what if we started clearing away the mud or the gunk or whatever to reveal our inner golden self? So it's to me, it's a little bit different way of looking at intention setting. What is not working for me that I want to release, even though full moon technically is the one that we do a lot more releasing at, but we need to think about what we want to be releasing to make space for what we want to be receiving instead. So if we identify that there's something that stinks in our life or things that we're doing that doesn't seem to work well for us, we have to go through a process of saying, okay, I'm done, right? I'm at my end with this. And so I heard somebody saying the old tried and true. And I thought to myself, to me, it's the old, it's old, the old tired and tried, right? I tried it and I'm tired of it. I'm sick of being sick, right? I'm tired of being tired, whatever it is, right? The old, tried, and tired instead of true, because the old things that we're doing, the old habits, the old narratives, the old beliefs, none of that is true. None of that is accurate or realistic, right? It's stuff that I shouldn't say all of it, most of it, right? The things that get us in trouble aren't the things that are true. So what if we had some, I don't know, intention setting with fresh eyes, fresh perspective, fresh vision? And I had written down for myself, what if instead of hoping and wishing for something that we don't believe we have enough of in our life, again, there's that lack and scarcity, we shifted away from that or even let it crumble? And I don't think that we have to have the fix for that. I don't think we have to have the solution of how do I do that? When is this going to happen? You know, those are the things that we sort of have to set it and forget it and allow the universe to kind of come in. But what if we just set that as our intention, right? Could we make it that simple? Could we make it that open? It wouldn't have to be something really, again, kind of rigid. So those are my thoughts about creating a new way. And I wrote a bunch of affirmations that we're going to actually integrate into. We'll do a little bit of Reiki meditation. And I'm going to read the affirmations as we're doing that, just to sort of start planting that seed and to maybe give you some ideas. Because I think sometimes when we have concepts, especially big concepts, it's hard to like pull them down into like, well, how do we do that? Like, how do we embody that? Or how do we set an intention for that? Or how do we create action around that? Right. So I want to get back to that practice. And I've been working on this for quite some time, but I want to get back to that place where I really am honoring my intuition. I think I'm much better at it now than I was obviously in my later teen years and young adult life. But I want to make sure that I'm setting an intention to kind of just flow with that river, right, of our soul's purpose, our soul's path. Not just I'm flowing with the river of life. No, we're going to really create that language that says, no, it's mine. It's my path. It's not just life, but it's my path. And then just have an intention really filled and fueled by beauty and love and humor, just like I was saying before, empathy and compassion, an intention that truly reflects that like we're already whole and complete. And even if there's something that we feel like we're missing in our life, we don't have enough of, really reflecting on what we do have, but then also that there's that potential that if we're not happy with where we're at in our life, that we have the ability, we have hopefully the resources, hopefully the people. If we don't, we're going to find the resources. We're going to find the people that are going to help us with opening those doors. So that was my thought. So I don't know. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions about this? Anything that they're trying to work on that you're hoping to shift the way that you see intention setting, or how you can apply that intention setting to yourself? If that makes any sense. If that makes any sense. Oh, that's hard to say. I think my brain's a little snowed in too. The snow days. I'm kind of in a daydreamy place. So nothing's going on with people. That's all right too. Oh, and I want to say, this is funny. I know I always say this. I'd love the tip of not focus on the how and when. Yeah, I know. That one's hard though. That's that's the ego mind though, that wants that control, wants to know everything, is very impatient. I know all about impatience. Um, yes, isn't generous with self or time. Yeah, so I feel like that that's a big one for mindfulness. That's a big one for intention setting, and always, Jael, we talk about like this and better, this or better, or holding space for this and that, right? Two things at once. This or better, right? The way that we conceptualize things, it doesn't always come in that package. I had set an intention. I'm like, okay, I just want to make X amount of money more. This was a few years ago. Or I didn't say I want to make that. I said, I want to have that. I want to have this amount of money. And I was really specific about the amount. I was really specific about like, I wanted that, right? And it's so funny because I was so frustrated. I was like, I wasn't able to manifest that extra money or whatever. And the funny thing is, my husband was like, oh, I got this like extra bonus at work. I don't, I guess, they had a good year. And so I got this extra bonus, and it's that exact amount. It's that exact amount that I said. But I was so upset because I was like, that's not how I said it was supposed to come through, right? So it comes through, and then we still kind of, I don't know, kick it in its teeth, right? So we got to be clear on sometimes our expectations, but then we do have to be open about how it's going to come, when it's going to come, the way that we conceptualize opportunities and possibilities, is maybe here. And then the universe's, possibilities and expectations are so much bigger than we could ever imagine. So do you find setting an intention and forgetting it is better, or journaling affirmations regularly to stay on the path? That's a good question. So I think it kind of depends. If I can answer it with kind of depends, I will, because of this. So sometimes I feel like the thing that I'm working on, if it's something that is like personal growth, if it's trying to get out of an old habit or, limiting mindset I'm trying to shift, I am going to use it. I'm going to go back to it more often. And I'm definitely going to go back to it using either an affirmation journaling or kind of thinking about it during meditation or thinking about it when I'm walking outside or something like that. When I notice the opposite coming up, so when I notice the old habit coming up, I'm going to go back to that affirmation. When I'm feeling really, I don't know, confident or strong or, personally empowered, I probably am going to do a little bit more of set it and forget it. But I feel like we need to have that reminder of what that goal is. And so to go back and to revisit that, I think is really helpful. So I'm going to say both. The other thing is if you're setting in small, like time periods, if you're doing like lunation to lunation or whatever, it's nice because you can reflect back on that. I know a lot of people that journal and then go back to the journaling. I had done for many years, kind of like New Year, I would pull out like 12 different cards, oracle cards for myself, and I would write about, how that how I was seeing that unfold, right? And then I could go back at the end of the year and read all of it, right? Which was kind of helpful. And so I feel like there is some clarity that we can receive to go back and review, but it kind of depends on what it is. So I don't know if that helps. So if it's something that if I'm actively working on creating change in, I'm probably going to go back to it more often. If it's something that I'm hoping to, manifest or create in my life or receive that's something fresh or new, I might set it and forget it and then, see how it plays out. However, yeah, okay, that does help. Okay. However, I will say sometimes if I do have something that um is is a bigger thing for me, I will incorporate that into like meditation, daily intention setting or journaling. So here's my advice: trust your intuition on what you should do, because you know best. That's what I do, but you need to figure out what works best for you. I don't know if I have a lot of like hard and true, like you have to do it this way, because I just don't think that works for everybody. And you need to know what works best for you on an emotional level, on a physical and mental, spiritual level. You need to find that right thing. So play around with it and see what works best for you. I lost my train of thought on there. Well, yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So after I had done this, after I had written down my thoughts about the power of intention setting, and a new vision for it, I pulled a couple cards and I had to laugh because, I mean, I know I shouldn't be surprised. I get it. I shouldn't be, but I always am. So the card that I pulled, after saying like, oh, I really need to be careful about what I'm saying to myself. I need to be careful about how I'm conveying stuff to myself, or what I'm telling myself, like the truth is in the matter, especially when it's stuff that can be judgy or critical of myself. Parrot spirit came up. Watch your words. So I thought that was priceless. And yesterday I had this, I don't know what happened. I finished work and it was so sunny out, and we've had some cloudy days here in Chicagoland, and it was so sunny and nice. And I knew that we were going to have snow today until like tomorrow, or forever. I don't know. And I was like, I got to take advantage of the sunshine. And so I decided I work in this town, Batavia, or I have my office in Batavia. And I'm just a few steps away from the river. So I'm like, I've got to walk. I've got to walk along the river, just enjoy the day, just pick up the energy of the water and the land, and just connect to nature. And the funny thing is, the card, and I wasn't beating myself up. I wasn't poo-pooing myself for making that choice. It felt very luxurious, but it felt really good. And later I got the card generosity, and I was like, oh yeah, being generous with yourself, for yourself, right? And really just feeling, and this was the other card from yesterday, it was radical acceptance. Like, it's okay if I want to do things for myself that feel good for me, because everybody's going to eventually benefit from that. So those were my funny oracle card stories. And if anyone wants an oracle card, I can pull one afterwards. But we are going to settle into just a little bit of meditation, just a little bit of Reiki, just to sort of, I don't know, just cleanse and clear whatever has blocked your vision for yourself, or whatever has held you back from seeing everything with fresh eyes. I'm so excited I found my spray, so now I can use my spray again. So I'm going to invite everybody to just get into a place that is comfortable for you. It could be seated, it could be laying down, whatever works. But I know I do both. But just start taking some deep breaths in, fully and completely. Just starting to ground yourself. I'm just coming through with that sage spray. It's sage and lavender. It smells so good. Just opening up and making space for yourself. Just take a moment, even if you've never had a Reiki session, even if you aren't really sure what it is, all you have to do is just be open to receiving. It's energy. It's gentle but powerful, I think. And there's nothing that you have to do or know. You just have to be open to it. I'm open to receiving, or I will receive for my highest good, whatever makes sense for you. And I'm going to just take a moment to invite in your guides. You have Reiki guides, you have spirit guides, any animal allies, especially parrot, for us to watch our words to ourselves. Calling in any ancestors or ascended masters, all for your highest good. Calling in any archangels, any goddesses that can support you, pouring their love and medicine into the space. This is for me, I feel like a big year. Just like Bodhisattva said, it's a year of balance, because I'm going to give so much I want to give, but I'm also going to receive, and I'm so ready to receive. Thinking about how you want to find balance for this year. How you want to bring in beauty and love and humor, empathy and compassion into your intention setting. How you want to craft your statement, your intention setting statement, to encompass the core essence of what you're hoping to receive or embody. can be as simple as I want to enjoy life. The little actions and steps we choose will bring us closer to whatever that intention is. You have to be mindful of what we say about ourselves, to ourselves and to others. This new moon reminds us of brand new energy, new opportunities, fresh starts, new beginnings. It was heavy at the end of the year. Now it feels lighter, which I welcome. Even taking time, you're taking time for yourself. You're taking time to receive now. That's huge. It's just a little, to me, small step. They all accumulate and grow into a big leap. So, what haven't we been open to seeing? We're going to plant the seed of I'm open to seeing myself with fresh eyes. Maybe seeing some of that inner golden light, right? Being hard or critical of yourself, being too judgmental of yourself, it actually doesn't make you any better at whatever you're working towards. But if you're encouraging, supportive, loving, kind, that's going to get you there pretty quick. I trust that my intuition will light my path. You have to have that mechanism for connecting back to our intuition, trusting it. Even if other people in our life can't see it or feel it or sense it or know it the way that we do. Our intuition is our guiding light, not their guiding light. Guiding light too. I like that. This one is a little bit of a, to me it's a heart opener, but I think it also taps into the other chakras. I trust my soul's path is bigger than I could possibly imagine. We just got to find that meaning. That purpose is there. Meaning's there too, I suppose. Got to be our eyes open to that. I trust that I will be gently guided by the universe to return to my soul's path. The little signs and synchronicities, they come in so softly, so gently. We have to pay attention to those, but know that they're there. I am excited to co-create with all the support I have on my path, my guides and guardians, my allies in all forms. Release that heaviness of doing it all your own, all by yourself. That disconnection, that isolation. Leave that back in 2023. We don't need that now. And I give myself permission to create a life that is fully aligned with my path and my purpose. Full permission to fully be you on your unique path. That's a fresh start. That's a new beginning. Just like I took that time for myself yesterday, I ground myself with the nurturing power of nature. When you're feeling unsettled, when you're not feeling balanced, take some time to go outside, even if it's for a few deep breaths. Just allowing that recalibration. And this is a big one. I am already enough and deserving of all kinds of abundance and prosperity. We don't have to settle for just one in all areas. Whatever that means to us. There's nothing that we have to prove, no test we have to pass, no redemption. We're already deserving. That one resonates. We're going to allow those old structures, those old ways, that old order to fall away. I will allow my old stories, narratives, and beliefs to be released. And I commit myself to learning who I truly am and what I need for my soul, from my soul. Gotta get out of our heads. I will practice being mindful of my thoughts and words, including my self-talk. And so for today, I choose to be loving and compassionate and spread kindness. Make sure that starts with you. Today, my intention is to allow my brightest self to shine. I'm going to just seal that in. So you can take a deep breath in and just release everything else that needs to be released. Seal in with a little bit of sound. Just a little bit of sound. And think about where your fresh vision is, your clarity, your new perspective on intentions and what you want for yourself. I'm still working on what I want for 2024. What do I want for myself? What do I want to do? What do I want to experience? So don't feel pressured that like, oh my gosh, it's whatever it is, January 12th, and I have to have it figured out. You don't. There's always time. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like collectively we're in this together, right? We're all working through it in our own ways, at our own pace. But I feel like there's so many common threads. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Does anyone want a quick card, or does anyone want, I could do a collective card. I know I shouldn't have been surprised. Of course I was surprised. All right. Sharon says yes. I'm going to do another animal. And actually, this is a weird one. This is a big deck for me. I have small hands. I know the way that I'm sitting, my hands, whenever I see my video, I'm like, wow, I've got giant hands. But they're not giant hands, and it's a big deck. It's a lot of cards. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I go slow with them, sure. Okay. All right. So I gotta itch my nose. Okay. So Sharon, what do you need to know about this or anything that's coming up for you, right? What? I love this. just like we were working with Deer Spirit earlier this week. So if you're ever looking for community, if you're ever looking for support through not only group coaching, but then just having a little bit of time for Reiki and to receive Reiki and meditation and any tips for working with the energies of the season, I have my Soul Journey membership, and we actually were working with Deer Spirit, and here you get Stag Spirit, take the lead, but I pulled it upside down. So let's see. I love that. So Deer Spirit was gentle touch, move with a gentle touch, right? Or something like that. And Stag. I love Stag. Stag is, so when I meditated on the energy of my business, I came up, it was White Stag, and I hadn't had this deck yet. And I'm like, I should probably get an animal. I should probably get an animal deck. And then I saw this online. This is like the cover of the deck. It's the cover of the deck. Yeah. It's also a Colette Baron Reid deck. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is my thing. So let's see what the upside down is. And again, even though this is for Sharon, if it resonates with anyone, there's pieces that you can pull from that. Know that the wisdom's not always just for one person. There always can be some collective energy. So it says, others may not be as far along as you are on your journey. Oh, that's for sure. When Stag Spirit appears in the protection, it was upside down, position, you are called to be compassionate and patient as you find yourself leading the way. When others struggle to follow you, they may be unsure that you can be trusted, challenging you to be kind and strong, challenging your value and questioning your worth. Know that Spirit has put you in this place at this time for a purpose and will not abandon you when you need help with your new responsibilities, or perhaps you're actually uncomfortable leading, maybe temporarily trapped by your small self and are therefore prompting yourself too strongly, afraid that others might see weaknesses or imperfection in you. Let go of your fears and let Stag Spirit remind you that you have what it takes to lead wisely and ethically. You definitely do. If you practice self-honesty and listen to others who wish to support you. I like that. That discernment is so important, right? Who we're going to put our trust in. Who are we listening to? Again, who are we listening to? If they're the naysayers, of the people that are super negative or hurtful, that's coming from their own pain place. That's probably not a reflection of who you are at your core. I know that. That's a perfect card for you today and every day. Yeah, absolutely. It's time, right? I already told you. I don't know why, but I think this is going to be a good year for me. And I feel like it's because I'm saying I'm going to take the lead in my own life, right? So Sharon, take that lead. Yeah, I love that. It's especially for women, it's a big struggle. It's a big ask to say, I'm going to put myself out there in a way that I am defining like leadership, whether it's leadership of myself. I'm not going to conform to what society says or my partner says or whatever. I don't know, family says, religion, whatever, culture. I'm going to say I'm going to do what my intuition is telling me to do. But I feel like we only benefit, and then we model it for other women of how to be strong and compassionate and fair and loving and generous, that we're trustworthy, all that stuff. Because I think we have some very wonky leaders, or people that have been leaders in the past. So I feel like this is a good card for everybody, just like you said. Okay, so I have just a few more minutes. Did anybody else want a card? It doesn't have to be this one that I'm shuffling. It can be the let's do one from I have 3 goddesses out of this deck. But let's do a little bit of goddess energy. So for our Soul Journey membership container, sorry. Yes, I'll do, I guess, Bodhisattva, we're doing a goddess card. I have 3 cards out, 3 of this deck, because they are the container. They're holding the container for our winter soul journey, and they're so amazing. Again, I don't know how. I'm always like, how do these messages come? I know how they come, but so yes, you do. I know. I'm going to pull one for you now. Sorry, I had to be reminded of that. That's okay. Thank you, JL. So they won't. I'll show you the three that are out too, because they might resonate with other people. Okay, so what do you need to know? This one popped out. Whoops. Let me try that again. Ooh, I like this one. She is my bestie. I want to know too. I want to know. Okay. So in other groups, I don't know if on the lives if we've worked with Nemazine, but she is the goddess of the past. Let's see what her message is for you. I kind of have my 2 cents, but we'll wait so you can. That's a perfect card actually for the beginning of the year too, right? Okay, so there are certain, I gotta adjust it. There are certain moments within your personal history that hold great treasure for you now. When you examine your memories, which are the domain, sorry, I can't read, I'm a robot, which are the domain of the Greek goddess Nemazine, and hopefully I'm saying her name right, empowered wisdom is revealed. The lessons you find are like sacred talismans contained within your past, like fossils in amber. Right now, you can trust your instincts that if something brings to mind your past, it indeed has a kernel of the old in the new. This is an amazing opportunity to make informed choices and do things differently. This goddess has another powerful message for you. There are many choice points in life when you have the power to make beautiful changes and become more creative, more empowered, and alive. Yes, sometimes memories that live in the cells of your body will trigger palpable fear, but you can move beyond your past to discover new territories, and a new vision of freedom will come to you. You won't see the past the same anymore as wisdom replaces numb acceptance. The memories will change, but because you have changed, the freedom is gained by willingness and curiosity. Relationships become rich with potential, and all your natural choices will no longer fall into old patterns that are not serving you. The goddess Nemazine wants you to experience this miracle. I love that card. I love that. I think sometimes our memories can be so restrictive and really keep us frozen, but they are part of us. They are part of our history, but it's like, how do we move that energy, right? If there's a memory that we don't like or was of a painful period, we don't have to remain numb to that, right? What do I want to do? What do I want to create in my life? So I move past that. So I move through that grief. I work through that grief and come out shiny or happy or whatever it might be, right? But then also knowing that, like, just because that happened in the past doesn't mean that I have to stay stuck in that time either right now, right? That I have all this experience in between past and now, that can lead me to making better choices or different choices. Maybe they're not better, but different choices. So, letting go of the things that we're holding on to and really creating and opening up to whatever the possibilities are that we want for ourselves now. So yeah, it is a great card. Jeez, let's call me Gladys Kravitz. I love that. Yes. Yeah. Another good one, right? Yeah. I'll tell you the cards for the container, the goddesses for the container. So this is Soul Journey for the winter. The first one was Yuki Onna, who's the goddess of winter, of stillness. And this is the reminder for us to go within, to have quiet meditation. I know somebody is going to be working on that as one of her intentions. And then the next, so I wanted to pull one card. I pulled one card, I pulled her, and then 2 cards fell out. So I'm like, okay, I guess they're coming too. The next one was Isis, which is rebirth, the Egyptian goddess of rebirth. And I'm like, oh, this is huge. We're really letting go of that old energy. We're really moving into something new for ourselves, especially during the winter. We're creating that foundation for ourselves so spring can come and everything can blossom new and fresh. You're welcome. And the last card that I pulled, well, last card that fell out was the Norse goddess Skuld of the future. So really thinking about those possibilities again, just what is going to unfold for us. And I just thought, wow, that was pretty exciting. So these ladies are sitting up here with me as we work through stuff in the membership. There's still time to join the membership if you want. For the winter, we're pausing next week, and then we're going to be back whatever that the next Tuesday is. I can't remember. But otherwise, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you're welcome to reach out at my website to do that. You can click on my links and see the information about what I do, what I offer. I'll be here next week. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I'll have to think about that. January 23rd. January 23rd is where we're back. We're back because we're just going to take a break for the week. So yes, if you want to. Oh yeah, and then the 21st. Thanks, Jen. Totally forgot about the Sacred Circle. So the Sacred Circle is the 21st. I have to put that up. I'm super excited about that. Sorry, I'm going to grab my piece of paper. If you're wondering about the Sacred Circle, it's meditation and Reiki, and it's going to be, oh, I'm super excited. It's Morgan is the goddess, death and magic. So really making space for what we want in our life that's fresh and new again. And then Owl Spirit. So really you can see clearly now is the message with Owl, but it's also tapping into your intuition. It's such a feminine energy. I love it. So I'm super excited. So we're going to do a lot of nice work with that in the Sacred Circle. That's going to be January 21st. Oh, so I probably need to put that up. So yeah, there'll be that too. So thanks, Jen. I totally forgot about that. But I hope everybody, if you're in the Chicagoland area or you're in the Midwest, or if you're anywhere really, I feel like there's storms everywhere. I hope you're safe. I hope you're happy and content. And I'm sorry for all the people that have had such trouble with the storms that have rolled through. The earth is really trying to recalibrate, and it's not fun for some of us, right? That we're kind of experiencing, whatever we are, loss or frustration and tragedy. So sorry for everybody that's feeling that. I send love and compassion your way to get through that. But for those of us who are just having a snow day, I hope everybody has a wonderful snow day. Have a safe weekend all, and stay warm. Happy new moon manifesting. You are so welcome. All right. I'll see everybody soon. Take care.